The boy's voice cracked as he whispered, "My father will whip me if I don't bring food." His hands trembled, his eyes filled with fear. Inside that lonely cabin, the rancher looked at his table. Just one loaf of bread, one strip of meat, his only meal for the night. What he chose to do next would change both of their lives forever. The prairie sun was setting low, casting long shadows across the dry earth. Miles of dust stretched in every direction, and the silence of the evening was broken only by the lonely groan of cattle fences swaying in the wind. Inside a weather-beaten cabin, a rancher named Samuel sat at a wooden table. His beard was untrimmed, his clothes worn, and his eyes carried the heaviness of solitude. He had no family, no children, just the ranch and the echo of memories he never spoke aloud. That night his supper was simple, just a single loaf of bread and a strip of dried meat. It wasn't much, but for him it would be enough. He bowed his head, whispering a quiet prayer of thanks, when suddenly there came a knock. It wasn't the heavy knock of a neighbor or the sharp tap of a traveler. It was timid, hesitant, almost fearful. Samuel stood, opened the door, and found a boy no older than 10 standing there. The child's clothes were torn, his cheeks sunken from hunger, and his eyes wide with something Samuel hadn't seen in a long time. Terror. "Please, sir," the boy whispered, voice trembling. "My father. He'll whip me if I don't bring food home." Samuel froze, his heart tightening in his chest. He looked down at the boy's shaking hands and dirt-stained face. The rancher knew what it meant to fear a father's hand, and the memory of his own childhood beatings burned fresh in his mind. The boy's stomach growled audibly. His lips quivered as he tried to speak again, but tears overtook his words. He just stood there, ashamed, frightened, desperate. Samuel turned back toward the table. His only meal sat waiting. One loaf of bread, one strip of meat. If he gave it away, he would go hungry that night. He knew the loneliness of hunger, the pain of an empty stomach, and yet he knew the pain of a whip was worse. He sat back down slowly, cutting the bread in half. But halfway through, his hand trembled. He looked back at the boy, who stood clutching the doorway like it was the only thing keeping him upright. With a deep sigh, Samuel pushed the knife aside. He wrapped the entire loaf and the strip of meat in a cloth and walked back to the boy. "Take it," Samuel said softly, placing the food into the child's hands. The boy looked up, shocked. "But won't you go hungry?" Samuel forced a small smile. "I've been hungry before. I'll be fine." The boy's eyes filled with tears as he clutched the bundle tight to his chest. "Thank you, sir. You saved me." Samuel watched him disappear into the darkness, his small figure swallowed by the prairie night. He closed the door and sat back at the empty table. His stomach growled, but his heart felt strangely full. That night Samuel lay in bed staring at the wooden beams above him. For years he had lived in silence, convincing himself he had nothing left to give the world. But in that moment he realized kindness, even when it cost him something, gave life meaning again. The following evening, there was another knock. When Samuel opened the door, the same boy stood there, this time with his little sister by his side. Their faces were brighter, though still thin. The boy held out something wrapped in cloth. "My mama, she said to give you this," he said quietly. Inside the cloth was a small pie, lopsided and uneven, but baked with love. Samuel stared at it, his throat tightening. It was more than just food. It was gratitude. It was connection. It was proof that kindness had rippled outward. Samuel knelt, looking at the boy and girl. "Tell your mama I said thank you, and you two come by here whenever you're hungry. I've got plenty of work for strong hands like yours." The boy's face lit up. For the first time, Samuel saw not fear, but hope. As the children walked back into the dusk, Samuel realized something. He might have given away his only meal that night, but he had gained something far greater. He had found family in the most unexpected way, and for a lonely rancher, that was worth more than gold. The boy returned again the next evening, this time with his sister. Samuel noticed how she clung to her brother's arm, too shy to meet the rancher's gaze. Their shoes were worn through, their hair tangled, but there was a softness in their faces, like flowers struggling to grow in dry earth. The boy held out the little pie his mother had baked. She said, "To thank you." Samuel took the pie with both hands, his throat tight. He hadn't tasted anything baked in years. For so long his meals had been dry, lonely, and tasteless, just like his life. But now, in that crooked little pie, he felt something stir inside him, connection. He split the pie into 3 slices and handed the first to the boy, the second to the girl. The children's eyes went wide. "You mean, we can eat too?" the boy asked. Samuel smiled faintly. "Food tastes better when it's shared." The children devoured their slices as if they hadn't eaten in days. Samuel ate his piece slowly, savoring not just the flavor but the feeling. For the first time in years, his cabin was filled with voices, laughter, and the sound of little hands tapping the table. The days turned into weeks. The boy, whose name Samuel learned was Jacob, started coming by after school to help mend fences and water the cattle. His sister Anna followed with a basket of herbs their mother had gathered. Slowly, Samuel's lonely ranch became alive again, but not everyone approved. One evening, as the sun dipped low, a shadow darkened Samuel's doorway. A tall man stood there, his face hard, his voice sharp. "It was the children's father. I hear you've been feeding my kids," the man said, his words laced with anger. "You think you're their savior? They're mine. They don't need you." Samuel met his glare with steady eyes. He didn't raise his voice, didn't move an inch. "They're children. They need kindness. They need food." The man's jaw tightened. His fists curled, but Samuel's calm presence was like a stone wall, unmovable. After a tense silence, the father spat on the ground and stormed away, muttering curses into the wind. That night, Samuel worried. He feared the children might never return. But at dawn there was a gentle knock. When he opened the door, Jacob and Anna stood there, eyes red from crying. Mama said, "She can't stop him from being cruel," Jacob whispered. "But she said if we come here, we'll be safe." Samuel's heart ached. He bent down, resting a hand on the boy's shoulder. "Then this ranch will be your refuge. No one will lay a hand on you here." From then on, Samuel wasn't just a lonely rancher. He was a protector, a father figure, and, in time, the children's true family. He had given away his only meal that first night, but what he gained was far richer. The sound of laughter in his home, the warmth of belonging, and the chance to heal not only their wounds, but his own, and for a man who thought his life was already over. It was only just beginning.